Okay, pencil keychains. These are the 4 samples I have done. This one is solid glitter. This one was solid glitter. And these 2 are liquid filled snow globe style. So I'm going to run through how to do both of these. I already prepped the basic stuff for 6 of them, but these are how they come out of the package. The top screw off. They do have a wand inside that needs to be removed. So to do that, this is just like a pair of floral cutters, but I get it in there as far as I can and cut, which leaves the end. I test it to see if it'll fit flat. If it doesn't, I'll trim off a little bit more. But so that's how I do that. Whoops. Oh, it went flying. So that's that for that part. I am keeping these. They will come in handy for, I'm keeping these. They'll come in handy for other projects. So I'm just going to set those aside a minute. Now, you'll have to put a hanger in the end of these. I want to note that these pop off super easily. So don't count on just attaching something to the pink. You need to make sure you go through into the bottom metal as well. So I take one of my pokey tools and I first give it a pilot hole through, and you'll be able to feel the resistance when you get to the metal part. And just give it a little twist and pull your tool back out. So that's that. Now I'm using my clear Gorilla Glue for this part. This is just a piece of bubble wrap mailer. Just something that your glue won't soak into. And give it a little dab. Okay. Now I'm actually going to take one of those ends that I took out. I'm going to take the pink parts off, and I'm going to get some glue on the top of the pink part where the hook's going to come through. So I'm going to get some in there just to make sure the hook has something to grab through on the pink part. And then I'm going to take the gold part and get a good dose on the top and run some around the edge. You don't have to be too heavy. If you go a little too heavy and some scooches out when you're done, you can go ahead and grab a baby wipe and wipe around the edge. I like to give it a little twist when I put it back together just to make sure the glue gets everywhere. I'm going to do the second one quick. Too much. Same thing, wrapped around. Top back on, and give it a little turn. Again, if you go over the edge, grab a baby wipe. And just wipe around the edge real quick so you don't have any excess glue sticking around. And then I like to take my eye hook. They're small, but they're not like the tiniest ones. I will get links to all of the parts and pieces I use up in the description. I take a pair of jewelry pliers, regular needle nose will work, and I get my eye hook situated in there, and I like to turn the actual pencil piece, and you'll be able to feel the resistance when you get into the metal part. It'll go through that little thin plastic piece pretty easily, but you do need to make sure you get into the metal. If you miss your pilot hole, it'll be a little bit harder, but it will still screw through. But you'll be able to tell when it grabs it and sucks it down a little bit. So there's one. And I'll get the second one done quick. I know it might seem like a lot of glue and adding stuff, but you don't really want to give somebody a keychain or sell a keychain and have it fall apart. So taking this extra step is just necessary, in my opinion, of gluing that top back on. And because that top did pop back up a little bit, it did squirt a little bit of the glue out again, so I'm just going to go ahead and give that a quick wipe. So that's that for those. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an 8mm split ring to this. I don't like to use jump rings on keychains ever. If you're comfortable using jump rings, use jump rings. I only use split rings on keychains. I feel they're more secure, less likely to pop open. Just personal preference. I just don't like the way a jump ring is always open and has more of a chance of coming apart versus a split ring. So 8mm split rings. This is a little pair of split ring pliers. It has a little hook at the end that goes in between the rings. I know this is hard to see, and pops it open enough to get it started. So hook that right through your eye hook and twist it on. And this one has a little bit of glue sticking out as well, so I'm going to wipe that. Next one. I know I've been over this basic procedure in some of my other keychain videos, but for anybody that's new or has never assembled a keychain because they've never been interested before, that's how I'm going through the whole process. So these two caps are now done. I'm going to set them aside. I've already picked out my glitters, so I picked out a tassel that will go with each glitter. For the tassels, I'm going to use 6mm split rings. You can chain a couple of split rings together if you want more movement in your tassel or your keychain itself. I didn't really feel it was necessary for these. I think one worked fine. I think it still gave it enough dangle. So I just went ahead with one this time for this batch. Sometimes I'll do 2, sometimes I'll do 3. Kind of depends on what it's going to be paired with. So, tassels are ready. Okay. So, the way I chose to do the solid glitter ones is these are actually completely filled with glitter. But I did do a layer of polyacrylic first. That way, if the glitter compacts more or chunks more, it's still going to have a solid appearance of glitter in the tube itself. So I rigged up this little container with a couple hair ties because I couldn't find my rubber bands. And I'm going to use this to hold them to drain. So this is just regular polyacrylic, Minwax brand. This one happens to be a satin, but it doesn't really matter. I way overfilled that, so I'm actually going to go ahead and pour it back into another one. But this is just going to give it an adhesive for the glitter to cling to. So I'm going to set it upside down between the rubber bands to drain for a bit. And I'm going to be doing 4 of each total. I have 4 glitters picked out, 4 solids and 4 for the floaters. So just, if you have to scooch it back up so it's not touching the bottom, go ahead. Rig this however you want. The hair ties just happen to be what I had on hand in this little square container. So, just trying to get a little cup over here to stand this one in a minute while I set this one in here. You just don't want them touching the bottom if you can help it. So this one, I'm just going to roll around a bit. And I'm not going to worry about pouring this last little bit of polyacrylic back into the container. I'm just going to let it drain into the bottom here. And these are going to sit for a few minutes, just like you would the ornaments or whatever. So I'm going to scooch them out of the way for a couple. For my floaters, I like to use the contact lens solution just because I've seen people use the glycerin, and depending on the environment they mixed it in, I've seen it get moldy or whatever. Glue and water is fine if you get the right mix, but for me, this is just easiest. I know it's sterile. I know if for some reason it does leak, it's not going to ruin anybody's stuff. So this is my preference. So I'm going to grab one of my glitters, one of my tubes, and this is a chunky mix, so I'm actually going to give it a little bit of a shake. And get started. I do have a little bit of a piece of paper that I'm going to use as a funnel. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to put just a little bit of the solution in here, just so the glitter doesn't completely clump up and create air bubbles. So I'm going to give it probably a good couple of scoops. These scoops are going to come out kind of flat because of the shape of the container, so. But this glitter is very chunky, so I do have to get my paper opened a little bit wider for it to flow. I like to fill the tube between 1/4 and 1/3 with my glitter. So I'm going to give it just a tiny bit more. This is one of my favorite glitters. It's a silver holographic. This one happens to be from Glitter Craze. This one's the Silver Surfer, but I have this glitter from like every glitter company I buy from. They're all basically the same. Sometimes the cup might be a little bit of a different size, but it's just a really pretty silver holographic. So I'm going to fill it almost to the top, and I'm going to tap it a little bit just to get the air bubbles out of the glitter. And you can see where the bubbles are coming up. Because you can see where it went from the top to the bottom of that neck. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it again. And tap it one more time. But that should be good at this point. The reason I'm not worried about it going all the way to the top is there will be a little bit of space around the top for air and movement. So I'm just going to double check and make sure the outside is dry. And I'm going to bring my glue back in. And I am going to give it a good coat of glue. And I mean a good coat. Again, if it seeps out a little bit, that's fine. You can wipe it off. But you don't want it to be under glued where it's going to leak. But I'm going to wipe the glue all the way around the edge. Once I'm satisfied I have enough, I will grab one of my tops and just screw it on. And again, if you get any seepage of the glue, go ahead and wipe it off, but that's filled. And then I'm going to grab a keychain part. This is just a 2-part keychain. It's the ring, and these ones have hooks. So I'm going to grab my little split ring pliers again and open up my keychain. And I'm going to put the hook on and my tassel and the actual pencil part. And turn it, and then you have it assembled. Pretty simple. These ones I will stand up straight, or straight-ish, in a cup to dry, just so the fluid can't really leak around the edge. Once there's a couple of them in there, they'll stand better. So I'm going to do one more of that style while these continue to drip, and then I'll switch gears. So I'm going to wipe off my little glitter spoon quickly. And I do recommend chunkies or chunky mixes for the fluid ones. Glitters will tend to clump up more, where the chunky will flow a little bit better. So, and my paper's still pretty clean, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the same paper. This is difficult to keep you guys where I can show you. I'm trying. So this is a mix called crayons. Just fun. Every primary color. And then some. And I just got glitter in my glue. And that is more than enough. But repeat, same process. Get those bubbles to rise to the top and get it through the glitter. Kind of let the glitter sink. And then go ahead and add some more. my glitter out of the way. Make sure there's no glitter on the outside rim either. That would prevent it from sealing securely. And again, I'm going to go back in and grab my glue. And give it a good run along the edge. Try not to spill it. You can use epoxy to seal these on if you want. Just apply it the same way as the glue. I just don't have any mixed right now, and I wasn't going to mix a tiny bit for this. Grab your top, twist it on. I actually like the rate of flow for the contact lens solution too, so it's not too fast, it's not too slow, but it's got a lot of movement. It's not like a sluggish movement, if that makes sense. So again, keychain parts, and I went with a yellow tassel for this one. But split ring pliers, if you have everything prepped beforehand, you can knock these out pretty quickly. Like if you did all of your toppers in one batch, and most of these come in a batch of 10, 12, or 20. I've seen the blanks for. I do notice that a lot of them are sold out, so I will try and get you links to some that are in stock. So I'm just going to set that one aside again, and I'm going to switch gears and do the fine glitters quick. I'm going to get a little more glue on my thing here, not where I spilled the glitter on it. Now, again, this is going to be your personal preference, how you want to do these. I like to leave them solid filled. I just like the way it looks better. So, just like if you were doing an ornament, the polyacrylic's been applied and drained. I'm going to grab my little funnel paper and my spoon. And because these take such a small amount, I mean, you can shake it up and then dump it out like you would one of your glitter ornaments. I mean, it's solid, it's covered, but because this takes such a tiny amount, I've decided to actually fill them all the way and leave them filled. Just because if you have a color that's a little bit more sheer that you're going to use, you will get better coverage that way. I would never fill a Christmas bulb completely, but these are just so small that it really doesn't hurt anything. I mean, my yellow was pretty sheer. That's why I really chose to fill that one completely. So, and that was 3 baby scoops of glitter. I'm going to wipe around the edge, make sure there's not loose glitter. But it's not like this one's going to leak. Not like the fluid ones. So, same exact thing. Glue around. And grab your top and put it on. And that one did ooze out a little bit, so grab your wipe and wipe it off. And this one I didn't catch where it dripped a little bit at the top, or oozed out a little bit at the top, so I will go ahead and clean that off. But that's it for that. They are just super simple and oh so cute. The fine glitters are a little bit harder to wipe off your spoons. Just by nature, they're more staticky. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more fine. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm actually going to use this one just because this is a little bit, it's still a fine, but it's a little bit chunkier of a fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. And just double check and make sure it's pretty well drained. And it is. But because this one's in a bag, I may try and pour it directly from the bag. Probably not a good idea, but yep, I'm getting glitter all in my glue. Again. If you have tiny funnels, you can use those. I just prefer to use paper, so it's one less thing to wash. And I always use like a scrap paper anyways. I'm just tapping that down in there. And that is pretty close to the top. So I'm gonna call that good enough. I'm gonna wipe off this edge again quick. And same thing. Try not to pick up too much of that glitter I got in my glue. But you could sit here with a batch of 12 of these and start to finish probably less than an hour to do all of them. So grab an end, twist her on, and then obviously the keychain step for both of these. One component, two, I am covered in glitter, and three. Back your pliers back out. I like to do all three at once rather than around and around and around and string them all over and over again. But that is a solid glitter filled beautiful minty sea foam. This is kind of a plummy color. I am starting to run out of the good colors in Tassels, but I was lucky enough that I had enough that matched the pretty colors I'd picked out to do for this. So I will probably get an order in for Tassels soonish because it has been a while. But there's that one. So the two solid glitters we just did, and the two snow globe styles. So fun. I'm more comfortable with, even though these ones look really cool, I'm more comfortable with this style just because I know there's no chance of them leaking fluid or popping open or anything. But I have tested these, the two that I did as my starters, and they're not leaking at all. They are absolutely fine. So I'm confident in this method. I will get links to all of the components, except for the glitters and probably the contact lens solution, just because this one's just Walmart brand. But I will get all the links up. And I just moved this one, and now I see that these may not be all that secure, the bottom of the pencil, so that may be something that I go through now and pop them all off and add, which I'd rather know this now than after I drop them off at the store. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that. And again, if any seeps out, good as new. So I will probably go through now and pull on all of those and see if any of them come off easily. But so just something else to be aware of, that much like the eraser top, the pencil bottom may come off. But I know this has been an awkward camera angle. Hopefully you got to see enough of it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And again, I'm going to get all the links down below. So thank you.